Welcome back to Tales from the Long Box, where we journey deep into the long boxes, unearthing the classics, the hidden gems, and just plain strange issues of the comic universe. Grab a snack, settle in, as I cover one of the most controversial story arcs in Marvel Comics history, the Clone Saga. So, when we talk about the Clone Saga, most people are referring to the event that took place in the 90s, where they wanted to reinvent Spider-Man because they felt like he was getting a little bit stale. In order to talk about that, we need to go back and actually cover the original Clone Saga. In the mid-1970s, the creative team behind The Amazing Spider-Man decided to introduce a significant change to Peter Parker's life. They chose to kill off his girlfriend Gwen Stacy to add a layer of tragedy to his character. Following this dramatic event, a new villain, the Jackal, emerged. This villain, revealed to be Peter and Gwen's biology professor, Miles Warren, was deeply affected by Gwen's death. Obsessed with cloning technology, Warren created clones of both Gwen and Peter, leading to a complex storyline involving identity and destiny. The Jackal, driven by vengeance and a twisted infatuation with Gwen, forced Spider-Man to confront his own clone. In a climactic showdown in The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 149, one of the Spider-Men perished in a bomb explosion. Gwen's clone left town, while the surviving Spider-Man, determined to be the original, moved on with his life, leaving the fate of the clone to be ambiguous. These events would come to be known as the original Clone Saga. The second and best known story arc of the same name ran from October 1994 to December 1996. Even though it was only intended to wrap up in less than a year, the comic sold so well that the writers were encouraged to prolong the saga as long as possible. If you were to read every single tie-in and major issue, you'd be reading over 200 individual issues. One of the major problems of the Clone Saga was that at the time, Marvel had 4 different Spider-Man books that came out each month, and the Clone Saga would take place in each one. But this just added to the confusion and made it almost impossible to read in the correct order. The company's focus on maximizing profits led to a decision to extend the storylines and introduce numerous unnecessary plot twists and subplots that often lost sight of its original purpose. So for the sake of simplicity, I've decided to focus on just the most important parts of the saga. There are probably many things that I won't cover, but to be honest, there is so much stuff that just did not have any impact on the overall story and isn't really important. Years after the events of the first Clone Saga, it was revealed that the clone of Peter Parker, believed to have perished, had survived. Deeply troubled by his existence as a clone, he had abandoned his life in New York City and adopted the identity of Ben Reilly, a name combining the first name of his uncle and the maiden name of his Aunt May. Possessing all the memories of Peter Parker, Ben Reilly struggled with his identity as a clone. To distance himself from his original, he moved to a different city and began a new life as a vigilante, taking on the title of the Scarlet Spider. And let me just say, one of the cool things that did come out of this arc was the original Scarlet Spider costume. I mean, that thing, it's awesome. I love the way it looks. Sure, it's dated, it's 90s as hell, but I still like it. To continue the story, when Aunt May fell ill, Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, couldn't stay away. His return led to a tense confrontation with Peter Parker. The two eventually reconciled and formed a bond. However, their peace was short-lived. A dangerous figure named Kane, another clone of Spider-Man, emerged. Disfigured and suffering from a degenerative disease, Kane sought to challenge the two Spider-Men. Together, Spider-Man and Scarlet Spider defeated Kane, but their investigation into the Jackal's legacy continued. To their astonishment, they discovered that the original Jackal had survived the explosion that seemingly killed him. The villain, with a new sinister plan, introduced a third Spider-Man clone, Spider-Side, to hinder their effort. The heroes managed to defeat Spider-Side and thwart Jackal's sinister plan. However, a shocking revelation awaited them. Jackal revealed that Ben Reilly was the original Spider-Man and Peter Parker was the clone. This revelation and the death of Aunt May in Spider-Man issue number 400 sent shockwaves through both of their lives. Peter, grappling with the guilt of living a life that wasn't his, decided to retire as Spider-Man and moved to Portland with Mary Jane. Ben Reilly, now the true Spider-Man, assumed the mantle and continued to protect New York City. and this is where the story was supposed to end, at issue number 400. However, since the books were selling so well, the head people at Marvel decided to tell the writers to just keep writing, even without any real direction. The story went through multiple changes. While originally planning on replacing Peter Parker with the new character of Ben Reilly, they decided not to. Mostly because they thought people would hate it. That left them in a spot where they didn't know quite how to end the saga. So they made a decision that might be one of the most controversial. It was revealed that Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, was not dead. He resurfaced and revealed that he had manipulated the genetic tests, and that he had been the puppet master all along, confirming Peter's identity as the original Spider-Man. In a tragic turn of events, Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, died when he was struck from behind by the Green Goblin's glider and was knocked to the street below, saving Peter from suffering the same blow. His body disintegrated due to the degenerative genetic disorder that plagued the clones. This proved that Ben was really the clone the entire time. And that was basically the end to the Clone Saga. Now, when you hear it like this, it sounds pretty easy to follow and straightforward. It was not. There was so much other stuff that were unnecessary that they added. The central issue with the Clone Saga was its excessive length and the constant retcons and plot twists that it introduced. What was initially intended to be a concise storyline quickly spiraled out of control, leading to a drawn-out and confusing narrative. Constant shifting of identities, the introduction of numerous clones, and the convoluted plotlines made it difficult for readers to follow and enjoy. One of the most controversial aspects was the decision to replace Peter Parker with Ben Reilly as the primary Spider-Man. This drastic change alienated many longtime fans who had grown attached to Peter's character and his journey. It felt like a betrayal of the established status quo and undermined the emotional impact of previous storylines. The Clone Saga also introduced a series of villains, including Judas Traveler and Scryer, who were often criticized for being too powerful and out of place in the Spider-Man universe. The resurrection of the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, was another controversial decision. His death had been a significant moment in Spider-Man's history, and his return undermined the emotional impact of that storyline. It also raised questions about the continuity of the series and overall impact of the character's death. Despite its flaws, the Clone Saga did have some positive aspects. It introduced intriguing concepts such as the exploration of identity and the nature of reality. It also gave rise to memorable characters like Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, and Kane. The overall impact of the Clone Saga was largely negative, and remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of overcomplicating a storyline. The Clone Saga serves as a reminder that even the well-intentioned attempts to revitalize a character can sometimes backfire. If you're really crazy and you want to read every single issue, I left a list in the description, but honestly I wouldn't recommend it. What I do suggest is reading the 6-part miniseries came out in 2009 based on the outline of the original Clone Saga, written by Tom DeFalco and Howard Mackie, titled Spider-Man: The Real Clone Saga. It tells basically the same story in a nice neat package without all the retcons, rewrites, and confusion. I hope you enjoyed this video, and how do you feel about the Clone Saga? I'm hoping that this video cleared up some confusion. I know that, like I said earlier, I skipped over quite a bit of things, but I really do feel most of that stuff is not important to the main story. If you like this video, why not throw me a like or maybe even subscribe? It helps this channel out tremendously. I'm trying to make this channel a community where people who love comics as much as I do can come and converse with others who love comics the same. If you have any suggestions or requests, go ahead and just let me know. I think I'm going to cover the King in Black storyline, which focuses on Venom next, so that should be a fun watch. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.